How about if you came up at the end of this session and just get that course, see if it can help you. I wish I could have a screen. I would have shown you some figures here. People are making crazy money right now because they have followed and it works. I came to tell you that there is something inside you. Way before you show up in someone's office, there is something you can do. And even if you showed up in that office and say, I already have my establishment, you look more authoritative. So look for how to build those assets, the skills, the mindset, and the tool sets that will help you gather a lot more money. When the woman came back to Elisha, of course the borrowing problem was solved by the borrowing. She was told, go and borrow, and don't borrow a few, isn't it? So sometimes we are the ones who limit ourselves. When she went and borrowed, she came back, the Bible says, she was told 3 things. Close the door behind you. And that's instructive. That means there is a season of closing the door. Usifungue YouTube channel mapema. You've not even built content to show your stupidity. Close the door. There's a time for content development. There's a time they're like, yeah, we want to listen to that young man. This is a product we need. You've thought through it. That's the close. And the story ends like this. When the oil multiplied, she was told, go sell, comma. Oh, selling again. It was assumed the woman can sell. The prophet didn't say, do you know how to sell? It is assumed. If you will learn to earn away from money, you must know how to sell. Selling is not making people buying. It is how you show up. In fact, the purpose of selling is to get a client. To the untrained, they think the purpose of getting a client is to sell. The trained mind works the other way around. The purpose of doing what? You are not getting it. The purpose of selling is to do what? So the purpose of me coming here to speak to you is to get clients. What does that mean? That when I show up here, I must be prepared that when someone listens to me, they'll be like, I want to listen again. I took thought in preparing. I didn't just show up, ninaanza ku. You know, some of us ask for microphone to come and sing. And then ndio huyo. Umepewa microphone, unaanza ku apologize. Just listen to the words, but not the voice. Get out of here. Tutumie PowerPoint if you don't want us to hear the voice. Kwani how are we supposed to hear it? Do you understand? Train yourself. Given a ukipewa pulpit. If you guys, you know, today you have a pulpit out here. Listen, you have a pulpit, you guys who are live streaming. I don't know where you got these cameras from. But did you know you can get yourself good business? Come back to your channel next time? Yes. The problem of Seventh-day Adventist broadcasters. Wanaanza asubuhi. They do live stream for 8.5 hours. Alafu wanaidampa hapo yote. So ukienda online, na ukiona, there is a good message from campus city to capacity. A very good title. By Andrew, a very good speaker. Time, 8 hours. What do you do? Alafu ukiklik in, ukianza kuwatch, sauti ni mbaya. So if I were you, if someone is practicing, you go offline. Unatengeneza ka screen nasema we'll be back shortly. Hiyo mbaya you don't broadcast. Because unajichoma. You understand? So train yourself. Any day you show up, if you make someone food, like give it your best. Put all the energy in it. That might be the only thing that will sell you and you will be called for. People will know you even in Nairobi. Does that make sense? It should. Please, you're given a small job. Do it to your best. That will open for you the next job. Someone will say, I usually hear her talk about one of her colleagues. She is just starting to work. But every time she doesn't want to go, this is the colleague she'll call, you know, as the leader of that team. And then the other day I heard she was looking for employment. She called this one to be employed. I am telling you, don't ignore the quality of a good job. Just do a good job. Train your mind. You give me food to present. Don't forget that there should be salt that are debts. I want you to pay those things kwanza. If I were you, can I tell you some of the things that are causing debts for you? Huh? Right now, you will sit at night, watch TV, watch TikTok all the way to 12 or 1. And then wake up the next day and go to class. Because you are young, you will just operate. Right now, you can eat anything. Like my brother. He eats everything. The only 3 things he doesn't eat: stones, thorns, and cactus. But hata hizo anasema ukipika vizuri uweke salt, atakula tu. So sahi, you can eat everything. And your body still just goes on well. But what you don't know, behind the scenes, you are overdrawing into a system. You are not training your mind to think. You are not training yourself on structure. And one day you'll be called upon to make a small speech of 40 minutes, of 40 seconds. And you'll be required to think on your feet. And your brain will send signal to the server. Bring me anything to say. Tululu, tululu, error 404. Then you realize it was borrowed. You borrowed too heavily. Do you understand these things, man? The text says, lastly, live on the rest. When I come back, I'll tell you how to live on the rest. But I want to give you some questions. I want you to write these questions down that I want you to act on based on what I've discussed. Today, what are your 3 urgent needs? 3 most urgent needs. I want you to work on that. Number 2, I want you to identify what you are currently spending money on. But I want you to categorize them into wants and needs. The second part. So the first part is what? What are your 3 urgent needs? Number 2, your current money expenditure items. Do you know them? This is to force you to measure. Then once you've measured, categorize, analyze. Any wants, any needs. Then lastly, what area are you borrowing on? Or you're about to borrow on? If it is spending on wants, I want you to make an intelligent decision. If you're going to borrow, please let the borrowing help you to spend on needs. I think that's a good one. There's something I said in the morning. I want you to do this under your network alignment. I want you to go home today evening and do influence scoring exercise. Who remembers it? 6 friends. Decide which parameters on a scale of 1 to 5. Fire the last 2. Replace them. Unakumbuka hiyo? Haya. Kwa hii part ya alignment, I want you to have 3 people in your life. Please write this down. Mentors, masters, and makers. Who are those? Mentors are people whose walking pace is your running pace. The way they think, the way they earn, the way they reason, they are way ahead of you. I said a mentor is shortcut for life. You sit with them and they tell you, I made this mistake, don't make it shortcut. Sawa? So have a mentor, someone whose walking pace is your running pace. Someone who can call you to make hard decisions. Someone who can tell you now you need to start buying land, isn't it? Yeah. A master. You must have someone who is so good in their field, or at least in some field you are interested in. He is known. He's a renowned person in that field. You should have that in your bank. A maker is someone who is your age mate, but helps you to cut wood. They can relate. They can encourage you, go and tell Elisha, he may mess up. But they are workers. They are makers. You can see they are trying, wanna hustle. And in your list of friends, ukishafanya influence scoring, please ensure you have 3 guys in your life. Number 1, a mentor. Number 2, a master. Number 3, and God can be all those things in your life. Well, the other thing I wanted you to do this afternoon, does that make sense? What was number 1? I want you to go and do what? 3 urgent needs. Number 2, the things you always spend money on, categorize. Number 3, at what? If you are borrowing on any area, does it go to wants or it goes to needs? Number 4, 3 people in your life, mentors, masters, and makers. I want you to go, like, name someone hapo mbele. Usiache tu hiki tu empty. Name mtu hapo mbele. Sawa? You'll feel bad that you're not writing because I told you in the afternoon I want you to do something about this message. Number? Tumefika number? On practical work, we spoke about this in the morning. I want you to identify one practical skill that is most central to the work you're building. I'll give you an example. For me, the work I am building is building ecosystems of learning, of mentorship, and of making people to grow. So one skill that I needed to learn is to write and speak, and then invest in that skill until it is expert grade. Did that make sense? It didn't make sense. One area that it is central to your work, to your growth. And then gather enough knowledge about it, not head knowledge, but practical knowledge. So if, let's say, you love and want to teach children, gather all notes about teaching children. Go out and actually teach children. But the second thing I wanted to do at that number 2, I wanted to identify emotional issues that limit your performance. Sometimes unaamka, you are angry about your parents or you are bitter. I wanted to identify an emotional response, a pattern that is limiting your performance. Maybe you want to wake up early, but mobile phone is coming between you and I wanted to evaluate also your competence in the tools that are of this age. How much of AI tools do you know to use to help you in growing? Let's see. The rest of these things you will read. But the ones I wanted to act on, these ones I won't let them fall on the cracks. Accountability. Before you leave campus, this is for final years, but you can also benefit from this. I wanted to create a simple monthly budget. And let that budget rotate about percentages of things that are fundamental, the things you must pay for, your rent, your food, that is fundamental. Decide a percentage. Number 2, there is fun. You know what I call fun? The things that make life to be life. You want to travel, you want to buy a new clothes, budget for it, and put a percentage. The wise say up to 70% can go to fundamentals, up to 20% on fun. If you don't budget for them, they'll encroach onto the 3rd category, which is called the future. You must place some money aside for your future. So that's something I want you to do for your monthly budget. Do you know how to budget? Budgeting starts by analyzing how much is coming in. Number 2, how it will be spent. Budgeting is telling your money where to go. But on accountability, I want you to identify someone you can be honest with and you can tell them of your loss, of your problem. I was so happy that you just came to see him. I don't know if he can be a good accountability partner, but life needs to have such people. You need an accountability partner. Na usitafute mtu juu unamkatia eti sasa ni wewe ni accountability partner. Hapana. In fact, the best is look for someone of the same gender. But someone you can tell the truth. Someone who can help you grow. A lot of the notes of how to deal with accountability I put on your notes, which you will take later. Let's see if I can add you something else. On intelligent thinking, I also brought out some points here. This is a good one. I want you to invest in how you gather ideas, how you clarify your thoughts. So let's say you have something important to do within this year. I want you to go back to the guy who is a mentor, Sawa, and write some questions. First of all, write what you will do about that project. Then write some questions and meet them and just discuss with them. I wanted to do this and let them filter for you errors of thinking. Because a lot of people make mistakes because of errors of reasoning. You know, you make a decision, mapema unafikiria, now I think I can just get married, and then the guy, next thing you know, you are now pregnant, and then the rest of your life you have to live with that mistake because you made the decision early and you didn't think it. If it's an important decision, look out for that mentor. Write it out. You will realize I have a good book. I don't know where is my bag. Did we bring the books here, I think I carried it. I have done a good job on this maneno. Let's see, here it is. Why people get into drugs, why they fall behind their goals. I have released a new one. This is the newest on the block. The Thinking Kiwa, from mental chaos to clarity. A structured system of disciplined thinking and life control. I can tell you, up to now, there is no best book of organizing your mental spaces than this one. I don't have to talk a lot about it. You keep making the mistakes, maybe we will correct them after 20 years, but they'll be too expensive. If I were you, I would invest now. I think I'll leave it. I'll pause here a while. Yeah, no, tenacity, I'm just about done. Let me give you one more or two. Yeah, there's two more. Is there something you started, ukafika Jordan, you quit? Yeah, something you had started and it was doing well. Maybe a ministry, something it was doing well. Is there a path back to that Jordan? I wanted to go back to that Jordan. Kama actually anguka, pick it up and continue it. That's called tenacity. What would be the cost of return? What would be the cost of continuing? Because some of you came here, you started very well. I want you to return to it. Well, the last one I will talk about when I come back. I want to give you some moment to write some questions. But I wanted to invite my friend Peter to make a statement, a comment, a few minutes, as many minutes, because today we've got time. We are not in a hurry, by the way. If you're in a hurry, mnazaenda tu. Sisi, we came from far, that we cannot give you children's milk. But I want you to write for me a practical question you are dealing with. When he finishes, I'll come back so that we wrap it up. And Hani will also make a comment if there's something we'll have not said. But the best way I've seen my audiences learn is when they ask a question. Please come.
Happy Sabbath. Happy day. Peter is my name, and I'd want to take at most 8 minutes. Yes. So I was one of the people who I lived a very intentional life, especially in campus. And even while in campus, I had made it my intention that after campus, I won't seek formal employment, but I'd rather start a business of my own. And I thank God, how many years down the line? 7 years down the line, it's worked, and I can actually see the results of it. So I am going to speak not authoritatively, but from my own experience, which I know will build, especially those who are leaving campus. And I'd want to start by pointing something from the story that we've just been focusing on this afternoon, from 2 Kings chapter 4. verse 1 to 7, we find that in the story, and you'll actually get to understand why I'm repeating this story, but I just want us to get one pointer from that story. In that story, we find that this lady was drowning in debt. Debt that she had not personally taken. And the debt had been left to her by her departed husband. And it was a very unfortunate place to find herself in. And this goes to cover the story of those people who want to assume they are coming from a humble background. And I think Andrew mentioned it, that when you get to a certain point, it's not about your family anymore, but the decisions that you make. And so you become the background. And so all of you here, no one comes from a humble background, but I'm actually seeing backgrounds that are forming. And there's one thing that the Bible actually mentions that is funny. If you read the book of Matthew chapter 26, I think verse 11, when Mary comes to Jesus and she's taken that expensive perfume and broke it down at the feet of Jesus. And the disciples are complaining. I mean, this perfume is expensive. I mean, why? Why will you spend an entire year saving to just come? This perfume, Judas was like, this perfume would have been sold. And Jesus answers in a very funny way. But I want us to get something from that, from the answer that Jesus says. Matthew 26 and verse 11, the Bible says, "For you have the poor always with you." In other version, it says, the poor you will always have. So, the poor will always be in this world. So the big question is, will you be one of them? Because Christ has said, the poor you will always have. And so if you are a business person and you think at some point you will cost our employees, I mean, you will never run out of employees because the poor you will always have. And so the intention that I want us to build right from here is, in as much as the Bible has promised us the poor we will always have, then how can you not be one of the poor people? And we have these funny ways of glorifying poverty and everything, but from this story, we'll actually learn that sometimes poverty is more of a choice rather than a calling. God has not called anyone. I don't remember anyone in the Bible who was called to poverty. And so, back to 2 Kings chapter 4. The woman was told to go and borrow containers to, because the prophet, the prophet asked the woman, to go and borrow as many containers as possible and start pouring the oil. And she did that. And as long as there were more containers, the oil kept flowing. As more as there were still containers, the oil kept flowing. The oil stopped only when. And so it's not because God had run out of oil. It is because the containers were the limitation for this woman. And so, like that woman, especially the leavers, you may think that the small jar of oil is not sufficient. But what can the small jar of oil represent today? Maybe you may find yourself and think that the amount of knowledge that you have is small. That's your small jar. But at least you have something. You may feel that you have limited connections. That may be your small jar. You may feel like you have low confidence. That may be your small jar. But this afternoon, I want to remind you that it is not about your small jar. Rather, your limitation is your containers. And so, what is your container? Or what are your containers? I want to describe containers in this aspect as opportunities and spaces that you step into. Opportunities are always around you. And these are spaces and opportunities that you can actually create for yourself. Your containers may be applying for the job. that you're still in school, yes, you're doing your exams in 2 weeks, or I had starting Monday, and it could be starting applying for those jobs right now. It could be something like starting a small side hustle. I'll actually tell you before I finish about a side hustle that revolutionized the life of my friend. I'll tell you the other containers that you may add is probably networking with your lecturers, alumni, or professional bodies, sending proposals, emails, CVs, even when you are unsure, but you did it anyway. Or using your skill. Maybe some of you are skilled in cooking, as Andrew was saying. Some of you may be skilled in probably coding, printing, or any problem solving. I mean, if anyone has ever called you to help you solve a problem, then that's a niche you can actually start exploring. And so, the powerful reminder in this lesson is that God did not run out of oil. The woman ran out of containers. And so, what containers can you create for yourself? You know, I mean, as I imagine if I was that woman, single-letter containers, single-letter tankers. I mean, have oil so that when we have the the US-Iran war, sahi ningekuwa nauzia diesel at 140 instead of 200. Because the problem where the oil ran out was a lack of capacity. It wasn't lack of oil from God. And even oil, of course we know from the Bible, oil represents the Holy Spirit. We will never run out of the Holy Spirit to guide us. We will never run out of opportunities that God can create for us. Our only and main problem is the capacity. And sometimes it is something that is inbuilt. We are so limited in our thinking that we always try to think outside the box. But let me ask you for a minute. What if you thought without the box absolutely? So that you're not only thinking outside the box, but you're not limited by the box, you're thinking without the box. And that's the place that God is calling us into. Thank God my wife is downstairs as the baby continues crying. Let me tell you one thing that made me choose my wife. Of course, since I was in campus, I was hustling. For those who know me, like when I was in first year, I come from what we can actually call a humble background. But when I got in first year, the first thing that I did, my dad told me categorically, unless you're dying, don't call me. And I had to figure out a way of surviving. So first year, first week, I woke up, nilikuwa na 500 bob. I was in Lower Kabete campus at the University of Nairobi. I went to Angige, nikabuy unga ya chapo 2 na mafuta, started cooking chapo, selling at 8 bob. Mess ilikuwa 10 bob. Mizangu ilikuwa 8 bob. Na zilikuwa sacrament, but because of the convenience that guys could actually buy from me somewhere up close, I started finding ways of survival. And by the way, that 500 bob, that same day turned to 800 bob. So I had an extra 300. The following day, I did the same. The following day, I did the same. And guys, kwanza kuna siku nilichelewa lecture room because nilichelewa kupika chapo, and guys, nikiingia tu hivi, kila mtu kwa class asema, chapo, 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 chapo. So the lecturer turned aside and looked at, who is this, what wanaita chapo, chapo. I remember her. And she actually called me to her office later on after the lecture and gave me yet another opportunity because of that small container that I had created. And the oil never ran dry. Before I left campus, the reason I actually moved out of campus when I was in third year, I had worked so hard that I bought a car. Remember, it was a Toyota Allion. As much as it was old, KBN 034N. Later sold it. But, and the reason nilifukuzwa campus is students could not park inside the campus overnight. So I had to move out of campus and go look for a 2-bedroom somewhere and rented. And life unfolded that way. Why? Because if the problem is not God blessing you, then the problem could be your capacity to receive it. Now let me tell you of another story. I will not mention the person because I know he's a lecturer here in Masinde Muliro. Wale wenye mnaishi kwa hizi hostels. You know this Wi-Fi ya kulipa 10 bob. Unatumia for 1 hour hotspot. How many of you have ever used it? Good. So munaelewa what I'm saying. There's a guy in Masinde Muliro. I know him while he was a student. So one day, he visited my cousin and found some guys install his Wi-Fi. Hapa tu. Uko, hiyo place naitwaje? I have forgotten the name. Iko na uko mwisho. And he was lucky enough and talked to the guy and was like, so, kumbe mtu anaweza something and you get. So, akapata help. You know that help thing helps. Akaenda akanunua Starlink and a few routers and a microtik. And he put there. And that guy, the first day, anaona watu wamesubscribe, amelala na 800 bob. So he continued adding more routers, adding more routers. Right now as we speak, that guy makes a minimum of 100,000 shillings a day. Na ninyi mnamchangia to 10 bob, 10 bob, 10 bob, 10 bob, 10 bob, unabuy Wi-Fi. But he's making money. Why? Opportunities are always around you if you will only open your eyes to see them. Nowadays, he's a lecturer, he's a young lecturer, anafundisha, but at the end of the day, he's still making money out of those hotspots. Why? Because he didn't let the container, which is himself, be the limitation. So are you your only? Because I believe like the only limitation you have is those containers. And you are the main container. And so all I'll tell you is, even if you feel ready, find something you can do. Even if you feel unready, find something you can do. But even as you step out of school, I want you to live a very intentional life. Don't let just life slip by. I mean, I'm waiting for jobs, nikiona advert, I'll apply, and what. Make sure, Andrew told us something in the morning, that every day, before 9 a.m., he makes sure that he has done something. What was the word that you used? Yes, you have produced something quantifiable. So just don't let days pass by without you noticing. I've realized I've taken more time than I had asked. Wema, do you mind crying again? All right, so. But one thing that actually made me choose my wife, she doesn't know. And that's why I wanted Wema to cry. Baba, cry? Please. Aya. Mpeleke nje kiasi. Good. Volume? Good. That's my partner in crime. So, one of those poshy families. Because she's in second year, she has a fridge in her house. Ushaiona watu wanaishi hivyo. Unaweza mistake sana for a mubaba somewhere funding lifestyle. Because it's not adding up. So, one day, I chose, mwambie tunasikia mtoto akilia ende chini. So, one day, I actually, nilimuuliza, tulikuwa camp meeting somewhere called Nyansakia, way before. Where do you come from? Anambia, ni somewhere huko Kitale interior karibu na West Pokot. So nikaanza kuuliza, West Pokot hata kuna network? Because you're like, the life you're living and where you're coming from, it's not adding up. So, fast forward. Later on, after when we were planning our wedding, I was privileged to go kwao. And sad to say, like, the what I had in mind and you know what Jumia orders, what Jumia promises by is what they deliver. I mean, was that that ushaiona humble back? See her. You hata hakuna background. Acha na humble. Hakuna background. And when I compare it with the life she was living in school, so I asked her, what were you doing to survive? And she told me, whenever she left school, she would go with bales of mitumba from Gikomba and sell. And on one day, she'd make 18,000 shillings selling those mitumbas ndani huko West Pokot, interior. and actually came to justify. And actually that side, that part of enterprise, that part of faithful care in the little that you can do, actually just made me make that decision. And so there's always something you can do with your life if you won't let it just slip by. I told you the story of my wife. I haven't told you of my own. I've told you the story of Josh. That's 117. Anyway, he's right here in Kakamega making 10 bobs from you, but sleeping with 100,000 shillings every day. Don't stop. Keep moving. Remain faithful to your God. He's able to show you. These connections are always around you. If you will only learn to ask. Even the Bible says, ask and it shall be given. Know how to communicate. It will come back to you. But make sure, have a diary. Write down every day. Make sure a day doesn't pass that you haven't done something meaningful with your life. I honestly thank God because where I am right now, we have an employee base of 25. We have, our payroll has 25 people we are paying every month. If you look at it from that campus boy who started selling chapati, and I honestly look back and thank God. Akina scout hapa wanajua venye tumehustle now. Akina Andrew knows. But I run a printing company. I'm the one who is privileged to be printing Andrew's books. And I want to believe we do a good job. And God has been able to grow that little container. As long as you never let your container get filled, never be so full, allow yourself to be added into every day. Ask the Holy Spirit to continue adding. We won't have many containers because you only have you, but never allow yourself to be limited. Allow God to fill you every day, every day. Then the path of Christian will be a continual journey. Part of the reason why the gospel hasn't ended, it's because as Adventists, the people who have been committed to these sacred messages, we've been so content with a mean level of attainment that we don't even have resources. Sasa imagine. Imagine Sasa, if Andrew didn't have means to get us here today, mungekuwa mmehubiriwa leo. So God needs resources, and he's not going to send money right down from heaven. He's going to use the faithful few. He's going to use the faithful few who will not allow their containers to be filled. God our bless. Sinevo. Thanks.
Wow. Say another amen. Say another amen. This is this gentleman. Well, see, and I wanted to hear. This gentleman, I work with him because he's a maker. Deliberately placed around my life. Now you need to know. Nikikufanya utajua. Lakini saa hii bado una hold hapo juu. And his life story are details I have seen. One of the things I like about him is the first time he printed our first books, they were bad. Partially because we were learning. But also because they were also learning. But there is a skill he has that if you leave here without talking to him, you'll have lost. I think he can listen to anything. He has a way of and he just allows you to say everything. So, though the books were bad, the first one, but when I complained, he listened, and I'm like, this is a good guy. Let's keep working with him. And so, today, we print almost, unless the seasons go down, almost 100 books in a month. And that's not too much for them because they print in thousands. But you can be sure, this week alone, she knows I have completed, not now, the last 3 weeks, I have completed 2 more books beyond this one. Because that's my calling. I've become good at it with time. So all that, and not just the ones he prints for me. When I go out and people ask me, how do you, there's another book I've finished for a friend of mine called Dr. Kaindi. How do you print books? How do you publish? He already has that business, no complaint. I will not ask anybody else to do it, isn't it? Just because of that one thing, he didn't know that that's what made us to stay. Not that the thing was good, but you need to culture around you people's skills that go beyond the technical skills. And something else, I don't know whether you've heard me mentioning in my presentations, you always show up because the way we've interacted over our printing interactions, I can call him up and say, please print for me 100 books. Saizo, a book is 100 books. How much is that? 10,000, isn't it? What if I don't have that money? I go down, sindio? But if I have a friend in him and I keep my word, I tell him, please print 100. In the evening, 100 zimefika. By these books, unflinchingly, and we don't give books for free, they are 1,000 shillings. This is 1,500. We sell that without feeling any pain. And it is not the papers we are selling. The papers are 65 bob, I think. It's the knowledge. It's the transformation you're buying. But look at it like this. If you walk this life and you don't have credibility to back up what you said, this guy would have not printed for me a book, the third, fourth, fifth cycle. If I told him, print for me, I will pay. So get to know, beyond your BCom degree, do you have a pedigree? What is that? It means you have an authority of a life backed up with evidence of character. That came out well. I hope you won't be the poor. But the reason I chose my wife, please come up. I think you'll make a comment here. We got some questions. Is there somebody with a question written? And this gentleman asked me to make a comment. I think we'll make it after her. But the reason I chose my wife was, as we were dating, we were broke. Broker than most of you. Like, I remember I would make some of those stories we write here. And I think if you are in a relationship, this is a book you need to have. This is a book of real life lessons of how to navigate courtship journeys. So I would make my sandwich. We would carry the sandwich to Uhuru Park. She would come with leso. We sit, we eat the sandwich. The sandwich was a loaf of bread, mkate, and I knew how to mix nyanya and eggs in a way that if you ate that thing like this longitudinal, you'll be like, this thing is a good combination. There's a way I would put some, a bit of citric, kidogo, kwa umbali, there's just a balance. So she came to my house to visit, and she borrowed my toaster, the thing I used to make, the sandwich maker. She went with to school. Medical class was bigger than this. I don't know how many people are here. She made sandwiches. The same story kama ya chapo. Made sandwiches, sold, doubled the amount, and kept growing. And I would see her as a student. I'm like, she wasn't asking her mother for money. I said, the interview is over. We are not looking for anybody else. So you need to know that those small things that you do, they also serve as authority statements for other things around your life than just your own employment. You understand? Yeah, somebody will get a good husband here because of just how they serve visitors. Now, let me tell you, the amount of heartaches you will keep from when you get a good husband, you will thank me. Kuna watu tu now they are struggling with diabetes because they can't make that choice well. So do what you can do well. This is an important conversation for young people to have, and even ladies need to learn certain things before we do the questions.
All right, good afternoon. I think it's important for the ladies who are finishing to also hear from ladies, right? Yeah, the ladies that we came to career ladies. Yes, we are wives, mothers, but we also went to school. Okay, and that's why we are here. Now, why do I begin from there? It's because there are a few things that are very important in life, and you'll notice we've put them in a book here. They are twins, riches and relationships. And from that title, I want to just share a few things from a story in the Bible. There's a man called Jacob. Jacob runs away from home, and he's going to a land that he does not know. And when he arrives there, one of the things that he does when he arrives is he introduces himself in a way that he gets a home and a job. He does what? He introduces himself until somebody is able to know, oh, you're Jacob. You're so-and-so's son. You're related to us. Now, how you identify yourself as a woman, as a man, is very important when it comes to the workplace and also when it comes to relationships. How do you identify yourself? When I look at your CV, does your CV tell me this is a serious person? Or does your CV just say, this one is a joker? Because many times you find a CV has been written or AI generated when it passes through the machines. Nowadays, there are machines that sieve through your CV. And based on what you've written there, some of them they never even get to the interviewer, all right? Because how you've introduced yourself there says nothing about you, nothing unique to say, oh, I think I want this person. So how do you define yourself as a woman? How do you define yourself as a man in a relationship and in a workplace? How do you put that down on paper? So when you leave here this evening and you're a finalist, please don't call yourself a finalist and you don't have a CV that introduces you to the job market. Also, please have a CV that introduces you to the dating market. Can I repeat that? Because there are ladies who are complaining, oh, I have never gotten a letter, I have never gotten anything, nobody is sending me even a xaxa, you know those funny messages. Could it be that you've not yet defined yourself? What is it that you're known for? What is it that you're good at? That's the first thing Jacob did. He worked on his CV and his introduction, and even when he landed in a strange place, his CV and introduction gave him a home. Second thing, and this was a mistake. When he arrived there, he's asked, what shall your wages be? You know, the first question in an interview is usually, tell us about yourself, isn't it? So that is introduction. The second question he's asked is, okay, we shall host you. We'll be able to take care of you. After all, you're our relative. But he's asked, what shall your wages be? Now, Jacob is not very intelligent when it comes to negotiation. And so the first time when he's asked this question, he says, now, Uncle Laban, you know, I saw this girl at the well, and I really, really liked her. I will work for you for how many years? 7 years. Just give me who? Now, can Rachel buy food? Let's say you're given Rachel as a payment. Can Rachel pay rent? No, she's just a beautiful trophy to look at. Now, and you notice that 7 years from the day he made that wrong decision, Laban asks him a question. You know, he wakes up in the morning, he's shocked. He's been given Leah. And he's like, hey, Laban, what did you do? Then Laban asks Jacob, didn't you know that in our culture, it is not appropriate to give the younger before the older? Now that question is instructive in many things. That as you go out there is something called work culture. There's something called what? And every organization has its own. Every career has its own work culture. Every place, even when it comes to relationships, you'll find relationships don't exist on their own. They exist within a cultural context. Like today I heard there was bullfighting. Is there any other university where there was bullfighting today? Unless you're in Masinde Muliro in Kakamega. But if you go to University of Nairobi and find bulls fighting, then there is a big a big problem. When you're in Kakamega and there's bullfighting, hey, that's a sport, right? Because of the culture around it. Take time. Go to LinkedIn. All those organizations that you dream of working for, check what is the culture in this organization, what is the culture in this career. The people who work there, how do they dress? How do they look like? Because yes, you may dress in a certain way, it's appropriate for you, but it might not be appropriate for this particular workplace. The people who go to that organization, what profession have they done? The people who are excelling, the ones who are at the top of that career, what is it that they've done to actually get there? And the Bible actually says there is nothing new under the sun. If you follow the same path, you'll probably end up at the same place where they are. So take time to study the culture. Take time also to study culture around the people you want to marry and those whom you want to date. Now, this gentleman fails at that question the first time, but several years later, this is after working 14 years, now he has 2 wives, he has problems, he has children. He's asked that question a second time in Genesis 30. And this time he answers correctly. He goes to Laban and tells Laban, Laban, this time I want my wages to be all the animals that are spotted and speckled and brown. Give me those ones. Those ones shall be my wages. And Laban picks those animals from his flock and dupes him. Says, the ones that are already there belong to my children. They're not even mine, so don't pick them. What he didn't know is that Jacob already had the skill of how to make animals produce more speckled and spotted animals. So when he picked those ones, Jacob simply took the animals, went to the river, did some few things, and every month he's getting spotted, speckled, spotted, speckled. And Laban is wondering, this guy is getting richer and richer. There is no way he can be duped out of his own skill. What do I mean? Get so good at your trade that you can't be fired out of it. Can I repeat that again? Get so good at what you do that wherever you go, people know that this girl is good. If you give me a patient, and it's an ICU patient, I'm so good at it, you can't fire me out of it. You can take me out of this environment. You can withhold my wages because you will go to organizations where they will withhold your wages. And you need to get used to the fact that life is not fair. Life is not what? Yeah, life is not fair. You'll apply for jobs and the one who has more networks than you will be given. But what makes you excel is, what is your level of skill? How good are you? You find Jacob, in as much as Laban is being unfair to him, life is very unfair to him. His skill is so good that whatever Laban did, this guy was still going out in the field, he's working, his skill is good, he's producing more. Don't leave school and school did not go through you. What do I mean? There are some people who've left campus with a good degree, but even expressing themselves in a letter, just writing, somebody looks at you and says, are you sure you're a campus graduate? You're calling yourself engineer. But then you're given something to handle as an engineer, and then you're not able to do anything about it. You call yourself doctor, nurse. You know, one day I laughed at one. So this one had come in as an intern, and he was a medical doctor. So he was so lazy. He has the degree, he has the paper, but he failed at picking the skills. So he's given a branula to fix. A branula is that injection which when you go to the hospital and want to give you fluids, we insert. It's a big injection. We put it in your veins. Boundary. But he learned the skill. Skills are more important than the piece of paper that this university is going to give you. And so I'll urge you, whatever your profession, ensure that you're really, really good. And lastly, I'll speak about my favorite subject, and that's a subject of relationships. You see, Jacob is bewildered by a beautiful girl. And because of this, you find he wastes, a whole 14 years. He's working and working and working, but he has nothing to show for it because he was, quote unquote, working for love. I pray that God will help you to choose wisely. For the men, please don't be scared of women who've gone to school. The men who came here today, we are all degree holders. I have 3. Okay, 3 degrees. All right? Now, what does that tell you? When as a man you pick somebody at your level as an equal, you get to work together. Many times you find somebody has gone to school, but then you're afraid that, hey, if I pick a woman who has gone to school, they will not submit. Any men who believe like that, don't raise your hand. Are they here? Have you heard such things? You've heard such things. So they finish in Masinde Muliro, then they're going to pick a class 2 dropout. You will suffer. Because there are conversations you will not be able to have. The other thing is, ladies also need to empower their mind.